Hello, everyone. Welcome to the market update for Tuesday, June the 8th. I'm on the road this week, and so chances are you're going to be viewing the market update, the stock-specific class on Thursday through recording. It's just my schedule is such that it's hard to pin down an exact time I can do it, and so that's just be aware that you'll probably be just viewing the recording. I also, as you know, many of you that travel know that sometimes hotel Wi-Fi can be a little bit of an adventure. So hopefully we don't have any problems with the audio or anything like that through the presentation. I'll try to keep an eye out to see if it cuts out so that I don't talk for 10 minutes with nobody listening or nobody being able to hear it. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started. And as far as the direction alerts are concerned, we're still not, we're dealing with the tired market still. We have sentiment above momentum or below, above momentum and momentum above breadth. But we're not in any sort of extreme range yet. Momentum is still in kind of the buy range, not an extreme. Breadth is same thing in the high range, but not extreme. Now sentiment is in the slight extreme range. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Usually sentiment tends to lag the other indicators. Usually the other indicators get into extreme before sentiment does. So we'll see if that is foreshadowing anything. And we'll look at the S&P chart here in just a second, but as close as it is to breaking out, we could still be back and forth a little bit for a few days, but ultimately we should end up breaking out to new all-time high. Markets usually don't get this close to breaking out and then fail to do so. Like I said, I'll take a look at that. We'll take a look at that chart here in just a second. As far as the buy-sell ratios, again, they're a little wide, but they're not overly extreme yet. And then the sentiment indicator is moving towards that overbought, but still a ways away from that. We're still okay as far as that's concerned. Now, why are we looking at this? Because when you start to get those extreme ranges, that signals that you're getting very close to a bigger pullback in the market, and you have to start to prepare. You take defensive measures like lightening up your positions, tightening stop losses, going more to cash, getting into fewer new trades, things like that. And we're not seeing that yet, although we've been in just kind of a sideways market for the last couple of weeks, back and forth, whipsawing a little bit. We're not in any sort of extreme range, so we don't have to worry about that. Now, as far as individual charts are concerned, let's take a look at the SPY. Let's switch this to candlesticks here. This is what I was talking about. We're so close. Here's the previous high right here. Now we bumped up against it right here. We tested it again right here, pulled back a little bit from it. And then we bumped up against it on Friday and yesterday for that matter. We pulled back a little bit from it again. But now double tops are pretty common, where you have a double top, a double test of that resistance, and then you sell off in a bigger way. Triple tops are very rare, and so we're looking at kind of a triple top situation. So from a probability standpoint, at some point this week, this week or early next week, should break out to new all-time high. We could pull back, maybe even pull back to this support area right here and then break through, but ultimately we should see the market go higher. Now, obviously, there could be an event that we don't know of that's very bearish or freaks the market out that could reverse that. But since we don't have that yet, and we're not, and by the way, because we're not in kind of that extreme overbought condition, when the market's where it is right now, it'll have a tendency to shake off negative news. That doesn't mean the market can sell off in a day or two, but it would tend to rebound pretty quickly. People buying the dip if the conditions aren't extreme. Now you get to that overbought extreme condition, and any sort of negative news could really cause it to sell off. So I'm not too concerned of a bigger sell off here. But again, we always have to be prepared for the unknown, and you just never know what the market could get hit with that would freak it out. The Dow, a little bit weaker over the last couple of days in the S&P, but still it's right up there, ready to break out, and probably will end up breaking out. You've also got kind of this ascending triangle formation on both of those charts that's kind of forming here. And again, that's kind of more of a bullish formation that should break out to the upside. And if the rule of thumb on these is you take the base of the triangle and project that from the breakout point. And so if the markets break out, they should have a pretty good run in the near term. I would expect, though, that run would cause the indicators to start to get overbought, and we'd have to start to get concerned at that point. But again, that's a ways away, and we're not there yet. But that's something that we will anticipate if we do break out and make a run here. The Nasdaq has been performing strongly or stronger in relation to the other indexes over the last couple of days, but today it's opened higher. It's kind of reverse, have a little bit of a bearish reversal candle. We'll have to see what the volume looks like at the end of the day. If it's lighter volume, right now it's hard to kind of tell. It'll probably be about the same volume as the last couple of days. I'm just kind of forecasting here based on this time of the day. I'm doing this update. But you look at a lot of the NASDAQ 100 stocks, a lot of the individual charts look like they could still move higher. But that is a little bit of a bearish reversal candle, which means in the near term, maybe tomorrow we're down a little bit. But remember, these individual candles are very short term in nature, meaning if this closes this way, it would probably mean that tomorrow we'd open lower. But that doesn't mean that we're going into a big correction. It could be that we're lower tomorrow and then we move back up again on Thursday and Friday or something like that. And so that's what I'm saying. In the near term, it's hard to kind of know how we're going to play out this week. I just think that ultimately, especially on that S&P chart, that we'll end up breaking out higher, sometime, like I said, this week or early next week. Russell 2000, it's also performed pretty strongly. Now, one chart or one pattern you see me illustrate here on the Russell 2000 is I've been looking at this as a potential bearish head and shoulders pattern. But now that we're kind of breaking out above this was kind of the resistance area right here. We've kind of broken out above that with today's intraday high. Although this is an indecision day right now, that could possibly lead to a little bit of a pullback. That is ultimately a little bit more bullish that we've broken out above there. It's kind of it's making this less likely a head and shoulders pattern, and much more likely that we might see some new all-time highs in the near future on the index. So now this matches up with a lot of individual stocks. I've talked about this recently, that a lot of the small cap stocks are really showing that they could be turning the corner from their big sell-offs they had earlier in the year. Some of the stocks that were kind of leading the way back in November, I think we looked at BLNK, Blink, Plug, Power. Some of those were beaten up a little bit, and now they're starting to look like they're turning the corner a little bit and starting to move out higher again. And so it's not surprising to see the Russell 2000 kind of outperforming those other indexes a little bit. So we'll see if that continues. But like I said, the price action today is at least on this, it's indecisive. It's not bearish. It's just showing indecision. It's what we call a spinning top type candlestick formation. Now again, that formation could change between now and the end of the day. We still have we're basically at the halfway point of the trading session, so a lot can change between now and the end of the day. But as of right now, it's just kind of showing a little bit of indecision there. As we keep moving on with individual charts, the bonds, TLT, we're starting to rise again. Again, this is going to be a key area right here to keep an eye on. This would be where we'd go to a higher high. We were starting to move up towards there right here and then roll over, failed to break above there, and that put us in kind of a no man's land. We were looking at this low and this high as the key spots. Now we're right back up to that high today. We'll see if we end up ultimately breaking out of it. We're trading a little bit lower than where we opened. We opened right at that resistance area right there. So we'll see how this looks on Thursday to see if there's if we get any clarity on this, whether we break out or we're moving back down from this area here. But we're right at this is an area where we need to pay attention. It's possible that maybe bonds are starting to move up. If you look at this right here, let's take away the volume bars here so we can see the chart a little bit better. We did have a higher low right here. We haven't gone below that low. That's why that was a significant area I pointed out in the last couple updates. We are about to break out, could be breaking out to a higher high. If that happens, now you're acting more like an uptrend. And this could be looking like it's turning the corner and we could start to see a rally in bonds. Now, that would go against what a lot of people are saying this is a short-term rally in bonds. Bonds are going lower. The bond yields are going to just keep going higher with inflation fears. But the chart isn't showing that. The chart is showing that there is potential there that bonds could be rallying and kind of going against what the trend that the kind of the majority feels should be in place. And this is often what happens when the crowd gets too far to one side, when there's too many people bearish on bonds. That's when you're probably near a bottom and you could see a little bit of a bounce. Doesn't mean that we're going to get a big rally, but you could get a bounce in bonds based off of that imbalance in bullishness and bearishness. In this case, a lot of people bearish on bonds. Too many people probably bearish on bonds. Could mean that maybe we rally up a little bit further here. We'll keep an eye on that, see if we break out above that resistance here in the next day or two. Gold continues to kind of push higher. We did have a little bit of a pullback here, a sharp pullback, but it's rebounded from that. Ultimately, the trend is still up. That is basically showing now a higher low after rallying up from that low. So ultimately, we're going to assume that gold is going to continue to move higher. If it were to come back down and break below that and give you a lower low, then we'd have to look at the potential of a trend reversal there or just a deeper pullback in gold. But I'm just not seeing that right now. So I would assume that gold is going to continue to move higher. Oil's continue to move higher. We are getting into a little bit of a extreme range here. There is potential for reversal or a pullback, but we're not at the far right side. In fact, we're not to the right of the middle yet, and so there is still room to run there. And oil's been in a pretty strong uptrend lately, and a lot of the oil stocks have been outperforming the rest of the market, and I don't see anything that would indicate that that's going to change anytime soon. I don't see a bearish reversal candle. In fact, oil is up today in a down market. I'd assume that trend is going to continue until I see something that would signal a pullback or a potential trend reversal. The dollar still considered in the downtrend overall. You've had these little bounces. You had a bounce right here, and then it moved lower, had a bounce right here, moved lower. I'm looking at this as just another bounce for a move lower. But again, these bounces can chop back and forth for a little bit. So, could it be that we go back and forth a little bit further before going lower? Yep, that could happen. Do you have to keep an eye out for a potential trend reversal here? Could we be bottoming out and starting to move to the upside there? That's something we'll keep an eye on. This was the last major lower high right here. This one, you could say we did move lower from there, but it's so close to it right now. I wouldn't call that. Yeah, if we can move above there, that could be a clue or an early sign that maybe we're reversing trend. But because of how long the downtrend's been in place, I'd probably want to see it break above this high right here and then above this one right here, and then I might turn a little bit more bullish or be a little bit more leaned a little bit more towards a trend reversal in the dollar, that maybe we're starting to trend upward there. But really, we're kind of in a no man's land right now. Obviously, if we were to break below this low right here, that would continue the downtrend or that would affirm the continuation of the downtrend. And like I said, we're kind of in no man's land right here to where we could go either way in the near term there. The VIX has moved up a little bit today from the low. That's something to keep an eye on. It is at a very low spot, and now you say, well, that's very bullish when it's low. Well, when it gets to very, very low, you have to kind of be a little bit of a contrarian that you might get a little bit of a spike. Now, I would assume that going back to the SPY chart, because remember the VIX is tied to the SPY, I would assume that if we break out on the SPY, that VIX is going to go lower. If we end up breaking out, so if we end up breaking out higher, that VIX should go lower. If we pull back off of here, we can see the VIX spike a little bit. But again, because of the context here, and although we think it's possible we could pull back a little bit in the near term, ultimately, though, I think we're breaking out. I would assume that the VIX if it does spike up a little bit, it'll probably come right back down with the market breaking out. Now, obviously, that can change. If news comes out that's very negative, you really want to pay attention to how much the VIX spikes. If it really spikes in an unusual manner, then you've got to pay attention to that. It means that there's a lot of those professional traders rushing to buy those protected puts to hedge. They're not going to hedge or spend that money to hedge unless they feel like they need to. And so we have to pay attention to that if we start to see that take place. All right, let's take a look at some individual stocks. One thing I want to point out in the sectors here is you'll notice that computer and technology shot right up. Remember, I talked about a lot of those tech stocks, those small cap tech stocks that were lagging and really got beaten up early in the year were starting to take off. Well, we saw computer and technology, it was down in this area right here, suddenly spike up to second place on the list. And so that reaffirms what I've been talking about and seeing some of that subtle change in some of those small cap tech stocks starting to move back up again, and we're starting to see the results of that in the list here. It's starting to move up the list there. So I'm going to start there, and let's go into the hold section here. I didn't really love some of the ones near the top of the list. I did like this one down here. It's a 96 strength rank AMPG, Amplitech. Let's turn the signals on here. Now, again, what I like about this is just what I like about a lot of those beaten down tech stocks is that you had this big drop, and it looks like we might be moving towards we're getting kind of a bowl-shaped move, and we're moving towards the right side of the bowl. Anytime you move to the right side of the bowl, that's the best time to be getting into some of those positions. The potential there is that they could be turning the corner and come all the way back up to the beginning of where that pullback happened. That doesn't always happen. It doesn't always rebound right away, but there's such a high probability when you start to reverse that downtrend. There's such a high probability of getting some sort of a bullish move that you can make money on that I just love it. And we had a lot of these stocks back in the fall that were forming these patterns and did very well with a lot of those patterns back in the fall. Now, we have, here's the lower high right here. There was a lower low right there. We had another lower low right here. We haven't gone to a higher high yet. A stronger confirmation would be to break out up to a higher high. But because so many of these stocks have already done that, gone to the higher high, I'm again assuming this one will. Now, again, additional confirmation, you could wait for it to go to a buy signal. That buy signal might happen pretty close to where it goes to that higher high. And we're getting real close to that. Any additional upward move would probably push that into a buy signal. Now, by the way, the training I'm going to do today, I want to get back to candles again, but because I'm traveling this week, and I don't have a lot of time, I want to do some simpler trainings this week, and so I don't rush through some of the candlestick patterns that I'd like to spend a little bit more time on those. But the training I'm going to do this week is, although it's going to be pretty brief, it's pretty important if you're trying to kind of build a system on, especially these stocks we're going over in these updates. You want to participate in them. You don't want to have to watch them all day long or every day because we go over so many of them. What I'm going to show you, remember what we look for is a 98 strength rank going from hold to buy. Not all of them are going to be 98 strength rank, especially recently. They've been pretty close. This is a 96 strength rank, so we're pretty close at 98 strength rank. I want to like the chart pattern as well. And then the confirmation is to wait for it to go from hold to buy. And what I'm going to show you today is how you can set it up in your system here to where it'll email you and give you an alert when this goes from hold to buy. So you don't have to sit there and watch it every day. Just check your email box, and it'll alert you when it goes from hold to buy, and so you can go in and make that decision whether you want to buy it or not. But I'm going to show you how you would set that up and how you would do that as part of the training today. Let's go over a few more stocks, and then I'll show you that. I'll go over that training. Under computer and technology here, I also like this OIIM, O2 Micro International, I think. 94 strength rank, but I like the pattern on it, the chart pattern on it. And again, what I like here is that, again, you come down here, you kind of form this base, kind of a double bottom down here. You had lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, higher high. You also have impulsive up, and then it's moving sideways. Whenever you see a stock moving sideways, you want to pay attention to the direction it was moving in before it moved sideways. That's where it's more likely, not guaranteed, but more likely to go after it's done moving sideways. So it's got a lot of the clues there that are pointing to a potential trend reversal. It's down today, but it's also at a hold signal right here. So we could wait for this to go from hold to buy. That way, if it's still falling over the next few days and it ends up going to a lower low or something like that, well, we don't care. We were never in it. We never got the confirmation to get in. Who cares if it keeps dropping? If it holds, though, right in here and then rebounds and goes back to a buy signal, that would probably be a pretty good entry into this thing. And it's a little ways away from going back to that buy signal. So it would probably, actually that'd be good, because it would probably break out above this area, right, the upper part of the sideways range, break out above that, might even break above this previous high right here, go to another higher high right there, which would all be good additional confirmation. So this is one I like. Now, a couple in the sector that have already gone to buy signals. I know I've talked about one of them already last week or so, was Blink, BLNK. It's 99 strength rank, and it's had a buy signal for a few days. But remember, one of the additional confirmations I said, here you had lower high, lower low. It looked like it was bottoming out right through here. And I said, you could wait for it to go to a buy signal, or you could also wait for additional confirmation of it going to a higher high. Well, it's done that over the last couple of days. It's broken to a higher high, particularly with today's intraday high right there. We've clearly broken to a higher high. Now, again, it doesn't guarantee it's going to go up from here. Obviously, if it pulls back a little bit, you'd like it to create a higher low to kind of confirm that it's turning the corner. But it looks like it's starting to turn the corner there. And if that's true, you've got this previous high up here around $60, $62, $63 as a target. It should kind of work its way back up there if that trend is reversing and if the market conditions are still good and are going to continue to push it higher. Another one that's gone to a buy in the computer and technology sector is the CBAT, 98 strength rank. And kind of the same thing. It's gone to a buy signal recently, hasn't gone to a higher high right here. And you could wait for that as additional confirmation. Wait for it to go to a higher high right there. But again, it looks like it's starting to turn the corner. By the way, you could throw the volume bars in here, and on a lot of these, you're starting to see stronger volume. The volume's not too much higher here, but on some of those, you're seeing higher volume come in as well. That's a like additional confirmation. All right, let's go to industrial products under the hold section right here. This is one I've covered before, Alcoa. It has an 89 strength rank, but you can see a lot of these don't have really high strength ranks. But I do like the pattern on it. You have this nice uptrend right here. It's kind of pulled back in a little bit of an ABC right here. And remember, I pointed this out a couple weeks ago, week before last, I think, is one to watch. It went to a buy signal, but then it pulled back again right here. But what I'd be looking for is if it goes back to a buy signal again, it would give you a higher low right there. That would be key. If this thing keeps dropping and goes to a lower low right there, you probably want to stay away from it for a little while. But if it can hold right here, you have this little bit of a bowl-shaped move, a little bit of a cup with handle type formation. If it can go back up, go back to a buy signal, and really if it could break out above this previous high right here, this thing could be on its way again. So this is one that we could set up to alert us when it goes from hold to buy. And one last one under consumer discretionary. I like this PRTY, Party City Holdings, 95 strength rank. But again, I like this overall bowl-shaped move right here. It broke out a little bit, but then it's moving sideways. So you have a little bit of a cup with handle type formation. I love cup with handle formations because when they break out, this one is already kind of broken out, but then it moves sideways right here. But when they break out of the bowl, they tend to go up about the same distance as the top of the bowl, the bottom of the bowl when you project that distance upward. And so there's potential there for these really big moves. Now, this is very similar to Alcoa. You'd like to see it kind of rally up from here and give you a higher low. You could wait for it to break out of this kind of sideways range right here as additional confirmation if you'd like. But overall, I like the way that's kind of setting up there. It's looking pretty nice so far. All right, let me get into the trading for today. Like I said, kind of basic, but I think important, especially for those of you that are really busy and you want to trade some of these picks that we go over. But you don't want to have to watch them every day, especially since we go over a lot of them sometimes. Well, the first step, let's start with computer and technology. Let's go into that hold section here. Let's start with that AMPG, Amplitech group right here that we went over. That was the first one we went over today. Again, it currently has a hold signal. You're waiting for it to go from hold to buy as confirmation. The first step is you want to create a watch list. Now, if you go into your watch list tab right here, the top of the screen, you can create your own watch list, whatever you want to call it. You can select Add Tab right here. And you could title it Stock Picks or Hold to Buy or Jerry's Super Duper Picks of the Day or whatever you want to call it is up to you. So give it a title and it'll ask you to save the tab. You're going to create the tab first. So whatever you want to name it. These are going to be your stocks that you're waiting for them to go from hold to buy. And then once you create that, you can access them under your watch list tab. You click on your watch list tab, and then these are different watch lists right here. These are your different tabs. These are my different tabs right here. Now I just created one that's just simply titled Watch List. And I've got a few stocks in there, but these are a few stocks. I use this for example. So these are stocks I've kind of, when I've taught this, I've kind of, I don't know how long these stocks have been in there for. So don't go trade a bunch of these just because they're in this list. I might have done this a year ago, and I don't know what some of these are looking like right now to where They may not be ones you'd want to get into, but create your watch list first. You title it, give it a name, and then when you find the stock that you're waiting to go from hold to buy, in this case AMPG, click on AMPG right here for the chart. We're looking at this chart. It looks good to us. We're waiting for it to go from hold to buy. The first thing you want to do is you want to add it to your watch list, and you do that by clicking this little green plus button right here. And if you're not quite sure if you put your mouse over it, it'll say add to watch list. This says add to portfolio. We're just going to add it to the watch list. So we want to click on the green plus button right here. And it's going to ask you what watch list you want to add it to. Well, I'm going to add it to my watch list down here. A watch list titled watch list. And then we're going to click save. Or you could go save and go to watch list if you want to go to the watch list there. But I'm going to click on save right here. I'm going to do this a couple more times. Let's do it with some of the stocks that we've gone over today. So let's go back to sectors, go back to computer and technology. The second one we went to was OIIM right here. Now, you could just click on the green plus sign right here and add it to the watch list. But again, if I'm assuming that we're looking at the chart first, and look at the chart, I like this. If it goes from hold to buy, I'm going to click then on that green plus button over there. I'm going to add it to my watch list. Click save. The other one was out under industrial products was Alcoa. I'm going to save a little time here. Just go to the green button right here. Let's add it to our watch list. Click save. And then the last one was consumer discretionary. And this PRTY. Watch list. And then click save. All right, once you've put those stocks in your watch list, now we want to set up the alerts to email us and let us know when they go from hold to buy. So we're going to go to our watch list now, click on the watch list tab, and then I'm going to click on my watch list titled watch list. Maybe I ought to change the name of that so it's not so confusing, but let's click on that. And you can see the stocks that we've added. Okay. Now the first one we did was AMPG right here. To set the alert, you're going to go all the way to the right side. You see the column right here titled alert. And you're going to check the box next to the stock that you want to set up the alert. In this case, it's AMPG. We're going to check that box right there. And this pop-up is going to show up. And we want it to alert us when this goes from hold to buy. Now, it doesn't have to be just hold to buy. If you want to set up an alert from it to go from hold to sell, you can do that as well. If you wanted to short a stock and you want to wait for it to go from hold to sell, you can do that. But we want hold to buy, and we're going to click save. And when that goes from hold to buy, now remember that updates overnight. So when it goes to the buy signal that day, all right, at the end of that day, if it's at a buy signal, when the market closes and the system updates, it's going to recognize it's gone from hold to buy. It's going to send you an email. So if you're looking at this at night, you say, oh, I got these email alerts. These stocks I've been waiting for have gone from hold to buy. The next day, then you could go in and enter your trade based off that signal. Now, obviously, if you're able to watch, if you're watching it already, you see it's about the market's about to close and it's going to be a buy signal before it closes. You could get in a little bit earlier if you wanted to, and jump the gun a little bit and get in. But you want to be careful because sometimes the stock will be at a buy signal throughout the day and then sell off a little bit going into the close and then go back to hold. So if you're going to try to, you know, anticipate it's going to be a buy signal at the end of the day, you want to make sure you're watching that or looking at that right at the end of the day and be pretty confident that it's going to be a buy signal at the end of the day. Otherwise, if you want to keep it real simple, just set up your alert. It'll alert you. You can just get in the next day. All right, so we set up that alert. We could do another alert here on OIIM. Let's set up that alert to go from hold to buy. Let's save that one. Do the same thing with PRTY. And the same thing with Alcoa right here. All right, so on the next update, I'm going to check these and see if I got an email alert, and then I can show you what the email looks like and, you know, all that. Or again, if you want to do it yourself, you can go through and do these same ones and wait and see if it'll email you it'll use the email address that you're using with Traders Pro. So just be aware of that. And by the way, you don't want to get too overboard on these with alerts. There's a lot of different alerts that the system will allow you to set up. And you want to be careful on that you're not going too crazy, because if you're like me, if you open up your email box and you've got 20 alerts, I'm not going to have time, or that's going to overwhelm me a little bit. I don't want to see 30 or 40 alerts. It's probably too many. So you probably want to just set alerts on patterns you really like, or the ones you just, if there's a stock that's kind of iffy, you maybe put it in the watch list, but maybe not set the alert. So you'll go through your watch list at the end of the day or something like that, but you're not necessarily going to get the alert. I don't know. You can manage it your own way. I just know that if I pull up my email box, I've got 50 alerts sitting there. Chances are I'm not going to go through all of them, and I might miss some trades because of it. If I did too many alerts on iffy patterns that I may not even really like anyway, then it's probably wasting a little bit of my time. So maybe use that alert system sparingly, I guess. All right, so hopefully that helps a little bit. And that's just a process there you can kind of add to our normal, weekly, when we go over these patterns. And again, usually I'm waiting for it to go from hold to buy, and this is a way that you can kind of set that up so it automatically lets you know. You don't have to necessarily check it every day. And some of these you might even forgot about them because we set up the alert 2 weeks ago. And that's another thing to keep in mind, that maybe that stock dropped in a big way and then it came back and finally came back to a buy signal. Always double check the chart again, because, for instance, on APMG here, or let's look at PRTY. If this stock comes all the way down, down to here, and then manages to come back to a buy signal, I may not like it as much as I did up in here. Actually, that AMPG is probably better here. Yeah, because this one still was kind of just starting to kind of form that bowl-shaped move. If it were to come back down and go to a lower low, I'm probably not going to like this stock. And if it went to a lower low right there, the hold signal, then came back to a buy, I might not want to buy on that buy signal because the pattern's changed. So make sure that you kind of double check the chart again. Just because you're getting that alert to buy, especially if there's been a lot of time that alert's been in place, you might want to double check things to see if you still like the chart. Check the strength rank. Is the strength rank still high? All that kind of stuff. Might want to double check things there. All right, that's all I have. Thanks, everyone. Like I said, I'm planning on doing the stock specific class on Thursday. I just don't know the exact time yet, so you'll probably end up just catching it on the recording. I just plan on probably viewing that a little bit later in the day. Hopefully it'll be posted and everything before the market closes, that you can review it and kind of go over that. But just the way my schedule is this week, I should be back to normal next week on normal days and times and all that. But this week's kind of a little chaotic, but appreciate your patience with that. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great week. We'll see you on Thursday for the stock specific class. Bye now.